Welcome to Writers of the World. Today we're going to escape into a world of romance and also take a look inside the daily lives of 6 romance authors. Our panelists today are highly accomplished best-selling authors who publish both historical as well as contemporary romance. If you could each please introduce yourselves.
Hi, I'm Kat Flannery. I'm a certified digital marketer, freelance writer, and an author. I write for blogs and online magazines on the side. It's kind of like my side hustle. And my books, including Lakota Honor, have been on Canadian, USA, and international bestseller lists.
Hi, I'm Kirsten Osbourne. I'm a USA Today bestselling author, and I write books that transplant the reader, indulging them in decadence, intense emotion, and sweeping love. I live in Idaho.
Hi, I'm Julia Ridgmont. I grew up in the American West, and I love to, even though I don't ride horses, I love to weave the country's rich history into stories of romance and intrigue. I'm an Amazon best-selling author.
I'm Kit Morgan. I live in the Great Pacific Northwest in a little log cabin in the woods, and I write historical and contemporary Western romance, kind of like Green Acres meets Gunsmoke books. And I also write some sci-fi time travel under another name, and have recently kind of mashed up those two worlds in a new series that the readers are really enjoying. So it's fun.
Hi, I'm Linda Brody, and I'm a New York Times and USA Today best-selling author of almost 30 historical Western romances and short stories. Here in the Texas Panhandle, we call this cowboy country.
Hi, I'm Danni Roan, and I write sweet historical and Western, Christian, and contemporary romance. I live in a 36-foot RV. I'm currently in Yellowstone, and I enjoy weaving faith, humor, and heart into all of my books. Hi.
Thank you. Welcome, everyone. So to get started, could you each tell the viewers about a day in the life of a romance writer?
The day in the life of me. Oh, geez. Well, I have 3 boys, so they're getting quite older now, but my youngest is almost 18, so if anybody has boy children, they know what that's all about, parties and, picking them up and, yep, all of that. So most of my day is working, writing, researching. I do a lot of research and editing. And then most times, my evenings, early evenings, I'm running children around, picking children up. So then I can be writing in the evenings, and especially if I'm on a deadline. So if I'm on a deadline, then I will pretty much write every hour that I possibly can. Other than that, I enjoy a sip of whiskey now and then. I love a campfire, and I love to read. So what else? What else can I tell you that I do? I don't know.
What do you do for fun?
What do I do for fun? I sip whiskey because I raise boys. So, what do I like to do for fun? I just taught myself how to crochet during quarantine. So that was exciting. I crocheted a scarf that my husband does not ever want me to wear, but I'm funky. So yeah, and I spend a lot of time with my kids. My 2 older boys. So when they come visit, I like to hang out with them, and yeah, I'm pretty much a homebody. So
The older I get, I think the longer it takes me to get my day started. I live here in a retirement community, and it's we have all kinds of activities, and I stay up late. But I have coffee and breakfast, and that sort of gets me going. I usually spend the mornings on email and social media and phone calls, that kind of thing. And if I don't get any interruptions, so to go join a bingo game or something. But the afternoons, I start writing shortly after lunch, and I usually write 4 to 5 hours a day. That's long enough, and unless I'm on deadline, and then I usually write whatever it takes. Sometimes I've been writing at midnight, so we always do that, and I end my day with reading whenever I can, and because I really think to write you have to read. It's so important. So I love my books, and I always have 2 or 3 going at the same time, and so.
I've actually had some time to think about this question, and I think that a day in the life of a romance writer largely looks like anyone else's day, depending on their schedule. We get up, I usually start my day with coffee or tea, take a few minutes to get my mind started and do a little bit of reading, a little bit of inspiration to start the day. I am a little bit more unique because I live in a rolling home, and I could end up anywhere, including the driveway of a fellow author. I always say my backyard is constantly changing, and that's been fantastic. I get a lot of inspiration from the area that I end up in. I've been writing myself all over the country. And as far as work goes, I think I probably do what most people do and start my day, start looking at Facebook and social media, catching up with my readers, my friends, my family. And then I tend to move into the work. And that can be a lot more than just writing. Sometimes the writing part is easier, but it's finding time along with everything else that is the difficulty. So a day in the life of an author, at least for me, or a romance author, can look like anything. And inspiration can come from anywhere. It can come from seeing a bison walk through my backyard. It can come from seeing a river flow. It can come from a snippet of conversation in the line at a new grocery store I've never been to before. So I think there's a lot of things that are normal about the day of a life in a romance author's life, but there's also a lot of things that are very, very different, in that we pull inspiration from everything and put it into our books.
I thought that was an awesome answer.
I'm envious.
We're all
Thank you.
envious.
The good part is every time we turn around, we're someplace new and seeing something amazing. The bad part is that you're always saying goodbye to somebody.
Oh.
But that just means you can circle back around and visit them again, Danny.
It's true.
That's
At
right.
some point.
I've been visited 3 times now.
Oh,
She has.
very popular.
She's spoiled.
Very
She feeds
spoiled.
me.
But I do have hookups in my driveway, and I think that helps.
Yeah,
No,
that's like
it's
an
just
open
you,
invitation.
Kirsten.
Okay.
How long have you been on the road, Danny?
2 years this month.
Wow.
Yeah. And we started our first summer coming to Yellowstone, and we're here again.
That's a great place. I love it.
Yeah, it's inspirational.
So I usually wake about noon, which sounds really late to most people, but it's because I work until 6 in the morning. When I get up, I check my social media, and then I check in with my 16-year-old son who's homeschooled, make sure he's getting his math or doing what he's supposed to be doing, because it's hard to keep him on track. I try to do edits on everything that I wrote the night before. So typically I try and do a 6,000 word night. So the next day I'll edit those 6,000 words. Then I'll go to any appointments I need to do. Then we have supper, which isn't always tacos. And I really wish it was. My family is really picky about eating the same thing every single night, though. They've got issues. After supper, I will either nap or immediately start trying to work and occasionally play on Facebook. I usually write with friends in a chat room, and sometimes someone will come over and write with me, like Danny, but I've also got a local writer friend who comes most nights, and we will write together. Then when I have hit my word goal, which is whatever it is for that night, I sometimes have time for a show, but usually it's about time for bed by the time I finish. And then I go to sleep and start all over again. Sometimes there's a little bit of time for playing games on my phone and snuggling foster kittens, but not always.
I get up usually, well, not usually. My sister and her teenage son live with me and all their pets. So sometimes I get up when she gets up, but she gets up really early. She's a horse trainer. Sometimes I wait until she leaves because then the house is nice and quiet because I like to have my coffee in bed and think about my day and think too about the scenes I'm going to write that day. I don't go so much by word count as scenes, how many scenes I want to try and get in. Because there are a lot of distractions at home. If the weather's really good, I'll write at home because I dictate a lot and I can walk the property. We have a lot of trails around and write so long as I have somewhat of an internet connection, because I use my phone and a app on the phone that needs signal data. If the weather's bad, I actually have a separate office in Oregon City, which is about a half-hour away, and it's right across from the Oregon Trail Center, which unfortunately has been closed for months now. But here, there's no distractions. Occasionally, upstairs makes noise, and not everybody's here. It's an old Victorian house converted to offices. And hopefully the alterations lady upstairs won't leave and turn the alarm on while we're doing this panel, because that has happened before. And then I go, and what's that beeping? And later I go to leave and set the alarm off. Yeah. And go home, cook dinner, watch a little TV with my sister, go to bed. And that's about it, other than the research, which, like Kat mentioned, I do a lot of research too, and that's always fun.
Do you hire somebody for the research or do it all yourself?
No, I love to research. And I'm going to be writing some romantic suspense here, and so I've already talked to a sergeant, the Stockton PD, and the guy who was shot in one of the first school shootings back in the 80s, who's a cop now. And I have talked to some forensics people. I mean, that's fun. That's a lot of fun. You get to meet a lot of really cool people when you're doing research. So
I think most of us enjoy falling into research holes more than we actually enjoy the writing.
I know.
yes, that's true.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we love it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So how do you get a Stockton cop to just say, yes, I'll be in your research?
Because my son was a cop in Stockton, and so I know a lot of the cops there. And I was down there for February. I was down there, and then my dad was homicide here in Portland area.
Oh.
So I have access
Like blue
to a lot of
bloods.
I have access to a lot of people through the Portland Police Department and stuff. I can talk to pretty much anyone, so that makes it nice.
Have any of you traveled extensively during the research?
Yes. Well, some. Yeah.
Where did you go, Julia?
I've traveled some, not a whole lot, but I have traveled the Western United States for some of my research. And it's funny because somebody was mentioning that they love research. I didn't start out loving research, but I do now. I really enjoy it now. So it's amazing how many true stories that there are out there that are just, you wouldn't believe it unless you actually had witnesses, because it's just amazing.
It is.
How fictional it sounds. If it was not real life, you wouldn't believe it.
Truth is definitely stranger than fiction.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You'll be surprised too, like how many people will actually talk to you when you're asking them questions, like Kit going to a detective or something. I mean, they want to talk to you and they want to tell you stuff, and I think that part's really cool too, and you can meet a lot of really neat people and learn a new trade at the same time.
Everyone has a story. They have some kind of story.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And a lot of times you can find stuff you wasn't even looking for, and it's so interesting and has to go in your story. So,
yeah. Or like you find something that you don't need for that book, but you can use it in another book, or it starts something from the other book. It's awesome. It's great.
Okay, well, I have two answers to this, really. One of them depends on whether it's the winter when my kids are in school, or the other depends on summertime when they're out of school and they're home. So during the school year, I get up early and they pretty much are old enough to take care of themselves and get their own breakfast and get themselves dressed and all that. Okay. So I don't have to do a whole lot, but once I drop them off at school, then I'm able to come home and have a quiet house to work in. So that's, again, I check my Facebook like everyone else says they do. And then after that, I try to have a little morning devotional with myself. It doesn't always happen, but then I try really hard to write all day long, or just if I'm brainstorming, I'll do that. Just trying to get that next story going. And then when it's time to pick up my kids, I do that. And the afternoon is pretty full, just with taking kids here and there, kind of like what Kat was saying. And then after dinner, I try to write again until about midnight. And then I'm up again at about 6 or 7 in the morning. So that's what happens during the school year. In the summertime, and also with this coronavirus, it's been a little bit of a struggle, having them all home and trying to get their lessons done at home. But we would do that in the mornings, and there were certain times that they had to meet with their teachers. And then after that was done, I was able to go to either like a park, or since the libraries were closed, I couldn't go to a library, but I did have a good friend who allowed me to use her house where she doesn't have any kids at home. So I was able to use her basement to go and write, because I was on some pretty tight deadlines during that time too. So I did that for a couple of hours in the day, and then came home, took care of my kids for a while. And then once dinner time was over and they went to bed, I just wrote pretty much steadily until about midnight, and then start over again the next day.
So the next question is, how can women use the heroes in romance novels as a motivator to find their own Prince Charming?
They shouldn't. I think women need to realize that men in romance novels are characters and not real life. The men in novels don't run around scratching their butts or have any other irritating habits. They're easy to love. A real man isn't perfect like a man in a novel, no matter which way you look at him. Holding out for a novel man is ridiculous, and people need to stop doing that. It doesn't exist, and you're keeping yourself from finding love if you're doing that. And my husband is sitting next to me glaring at me, but it's all true.
Kirsten, you have the phrase, find a good man with one thing that's annoying, and then you have to just put up with that? The one thing?
Yeah, that's what I do in my books, yeah. If he's only got one annoying habit, you can usually last about 10 years before you want to kill him. And my husband is now walking away scratching his butt.
Unless he calls you a frog mama.
Uh-huh. story. Real life.
I think there's a little bit of truth in everything else as well. And I think focusing on character traits, not just appearance or what's perfect or what makes you happy, is more important.
Some people don't know what love really is, or what it's supposed to look like. And I think we can show them, and we can empower them. They may be going through abuse or being put down, and we can offer hope. I think our books do, and they strengthen women in so many ways. And my heroes live with a code of honor, but they're not perfect, and that's important too, to show readers that there's no perfection, and so we have to show the flaws and the tumbles and all of that, and give them a realistic. I think we show a realistic view of what life can be like.
Can I just build on that answer?
Sure.
Okay. So I, along with Linda, I feel that a lot of times with my stories, I want to show readers what love doesn't look like, or what a good man shouldn't be like, through my villain. And so I have female relatives who have been victims of domestic violence. And so I know what it shouldn't look like and doesn't look like. And so I try to show that part of it to my readers. And then also, in comparison, show my hero showing some traits that they should look for. So I totally agree with Linda on that.
They also say that every good hero has a major character flaw. And we tend to highlight that in a lot of our stories, sometimes in a funny way, which is enjoyable for everybody. But for me, for example, there's a reason I call my husband the everyday hero. It's the everyday things, it's the constant walk that makes a hero. Even though we like to add the drama, the romance, the love, the connections, it's fun and it's interesting. But like you other two ladies were saying, it's not all perfect, but it makes it attainable. It makes it seem like something we can reach for.
Right.
What kind of flaws do you think are okay, and which ones are not?
Cheating is not. Hitting is not.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yelling too much is not.
Yeah, a short temper.
Mm-hmm.
Misunderstandings are normal.
Yep.
People don't always communicate well. Everyone has misunderstandings, and nobody's perfect. Even we have annoying habits and annoying flaws. But if we love someone, we can overlook those. Character traits that are important outweigh the annoyances, the little things that everybody gets annoyed with. We got annoyed with our parents, we get annoyed with our kids. That's normal. It's transcending those little things for the big stuff.
I just think that a man who is willing to do little things for the woman he loves, to show her in little ways, is really important.
I agree completely. My husband, because of his heart issues a couple of years ago, is still lacking a whole lot of energy that the rest of us have. Imagine if your cup is usually half full of energy, he's just about an eighth. And every day, any errand I need run, he's running. If I have an appointment and I have a migraine, he drives me to that appointment. No, he's not anybody's idea of a romance hero, but he's my hero because he does the things that he can do for me.
I think too, there's a big misconception about what a romance novel is. And I think that what people are going to get, is a good story with real characters that they can relate to, real problems that they can relate to. And I think that over everything is, to me, almost more important if the reader can have that connection with the characters than that actual romance part of it, because they'll feel all of it anyway, right? So my like when I pick up a book, and I've read all these ladies' books, I connect to their characters. That's what I want to do. I want to be able to feel what they're doing, what they're feeling, and the emotions, whether it's the hero or the heroine. And I think at that point, that's when I'm anxious for the love story to start. But I need to connect to them, and that's where I go back to saying romance has, you know, over the years had such a bad name because people thought it was just this fluff, you know, crap. But it's not. It's good stories with good characters that are relatable, and suspense and everything in there, you know, and yes, we're solving problems, and we're, you know, helping the battered women see a different side and things like that. And I think that people need to see that, you know, that it's not just this fluffy little story and it's a happily ever after. There's a lot of stuff going on in the middle.
I know that the romance genre supports the publishing industry because they're so popular, but it gets almost no respect. So do you think there's been an evolution since the indie authors have come on the scene?
I don't think so. I think people still think that we're writing absolute fluff that's worthless. I know I went to a Best Buy. It was like 2 years ago. And we were there shopping. And this guy who worked at Best Buy, I mentioned that I was a writer, and he said, "Oh, I am too. What do you write?" And I said, "I'm a romance writer." And he said, "Well, I write screenplays. I write real stuff." And I thought, "Yeah, but you're working at Best Buy to support
Yeah.
and I support my family with my writing. There's a big difference. But my writing isn't real because it's fluff, and his is real because it's screenplay." So no, I don't think anything has changed since the indies came on the scene.
Oh, I hear it all the time too. What do you write? Same thing. It's the exact same reaction. Oh, it's just romance. It's just romance. Yeah.
Yeah, that and I agree, because I'll say I write romance first, and they go, "Oh," but then I'll say, and I also write science fiction time travel, and then they go, "Oh," and suddenly they're talking to me.
Oh.
It's really sad.
It is very sad. Yeah.
I critique with two guys, and one of them had never read a romance. And so I asked him after a few months, I said, "Well, what do you think of romance now?" And he said, "I didn't know it was like this." He said, "It's got a real story." And I said, "Yeah, they have real stories. They're more than sex."
I write sex scenes with only one paragraph transition in between them. At least that's what people assume we do.
Yeah.
Romance writers are also puzzle solvers. I mean, you think about a mystery writer. Well, a lot of us have mysteries in our books that our characters have to solve. So we're still plotting some complicated stories. They just don't realize it.
The way I look at it is, us romance, we're the writers, we're the bomb. Like we're actually giving our readers everything, like suspense, right? You know,
Right.
Thriller, a little bit of thriller in there, romance, you have a little bit of love, right? Like they get that happily ever after. I think that they get everything in a romance novel.
It also is kind of bizarre because romantic comedies don't get the same bad reputation in movies. They're very popular. They're just called chick flicks, but you know. And also romance is real life. There is romance in the world, so it's very odd.
There is. It's a real thing. It's a real thing. And think that when people realize what we write in between, especially being historical, writing a lot of historical stuff, I know that there are some guys, because they love that connection to the history. They like the connection to all of the different time periods.
Yeah, I have several men who have messaged me as avid readers, and they love, love, love the books. And I know you met one of them, but probably 10 men correspond with me on a regular basis because they love my romance novels.
Do they send away for mail order brides after reading them?
You know, so there was a series that I headed up in 2015, and it was 50 mail order brides going to 50 different states. We called it AMOB, American Mail Order Brides, and we had a Facebook page. And still, at least once a month, some man will message that Facebook page saying, "Where do I get my mail order bride?"
On Amazon for $1.99.
That's right.
Funny you mentioned that, because I had that happen to me not too long ago on another Facebook page for one of the series that I'm in too. So
Maybe you can have a second career as matchmakers.
No thanks.
I'll pass on that.
To keep your marriage brimming with love in a loving cup. Whenever you're wrong, admit it. Whenever you're right, shut up.
that's perfect.
Perfect.
On that inspiring note, I want to thank everyone. To all our viewers, don't forget to subscribe and also check out the panelists' YouTube channels linked in the description below. Dakota Honor, Hannah's Hanky, Her Only Hope, Hester's Hope, The Mail Order Bride's Secret, and Lucia are available on Amazon, links below, as well as links to each panelist's website. Thank you for sharing the world of romance with the readers and readers today.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you.